Hey everyone, this is Johnny, and welcome to another episode of Travel Like a Boss. I am here with Melanie and Miles Becker from Ask.Angels. Hey everyone.
Ask-angels.com. But
Yep.
thank you. We are so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited for both of you to be here. You guys just happen to be in my building, but we are in Chiang Mai. And if you guys are listening to this in your earbuds, this is going to be one of the episodes we're actually going to have a video of as well. So it's going to be on the YouTube channel. So just search for Travel Like a Boss or go in the show notes and you can see it there. But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So I originally first heard of you two from the event you guys were hosting down in Phuket. What was that called?
It was the Abundant Circle event.
And what was that about, Melanie?
We ran a mastermind retreat, essentially. So the idea was to bring together 20 entrepreneurs who are like doing big things in their business and just to like connect and co-create and really just like have an amazing, luxurious experience.
So this wasn't like a bootstrapping backpacker hostel type event. This was like at a villa, right?
Yeah, it was a luxury villa in Phuket, pretty much the biggest place we could find in Phuket, more of a palace than a house really. And we rented a yacht. It was over the top, definitely.
That's cool. I saw photos of it. So I first heard of you two, I think Leanne Beasley, she posted some photos of the event. And then my other friend, David Vu, who's been on this podcast a few times, he met you guys there as well. And I guess in Chiang Mai, actually. So do you remember how we all first met?
It was through David Vu.
Yeah.
We went out to dinner one time. He just set up a dinner for us to go out and kind of catch up and learn about each other. And we've got similar interests and challenges. So
we had actually heard about you before as well. We met David Vu, who's been on your podcast, and we also met V and Ian, who I think have been on your podcast as well.
Yeah,
so we met them on the Nomad cruise, and then we were coming to Chiang Mai. They were like, "Oh, you have to meet our friend Johnny. He's like the mayor of Chiang Mai."
I don't know how I got that nickname, but
it's a good nickname
now. Yeah, so I think that's so cool that the Nomad community is so, I don't want to say incestuous, but like everyone kind of just networks with everyone, especially like if you have friends that you know they're gonna get along with your other friends, then they will. That's kind of like the new way of meeting each other.
Yeah, actually in Chiang Mai, we have had a couple of friends who aren't here reach out and introduce us to people they know who are here, who we've never met. And so it is really like cool how networks expand. And yes.
I don't know whose sunglasses I just put on. So
very
they may
stylish.
not look cool, but the sun's going in my eye because we're on my rooftop right here. Actually, our rooftop because you live here as well, of the Siri.
So one thing we've noticed in traveling and embracing the digital nomad lifestyle is that the people we're meeting seem to be more open. When we were living on the North Shore of Tahoe, we didn't really form any deep relationships, and somehow just being on this nomad adventure of life, it seems like, I don't know if people are more open or if we're all just kind of more similar personality types, so there's more resonance, but I have more and better relationships and friendships displaced all over the world than I did when I lived in one location, because we were kind of like the weird kids working from home in one location, and now we're still kind of weird kids, obviously, but we at least cluster together and have fun together.
I think you're absolutely right with that, and it's a strange thing because a lot of my friends are from San Francisco or Austin or even New York, and those are the cities that you would think would have, the weird kids or people, enough friends or enough of a network that no matter what you're into, that you'll meet someone. If you're from a small town in Idaho, I can see why, if you're the one person into building an online business or tarot cards or something spiritual, that you would, there'd be no way to meet anyone else until the internet age now. But even then, it'd be an online relationship versus being here in person.
Right. And there's something special getting together and goofing off and having fun. You kind of really get to the core of people. And so in the Abundant Circle event, we did it for 5 nights. And one of the reasons we did that is we wanted to be together long enough so everybody took the proverbial mask off, and you get to see people the morning after a few drinks having their cup of coffee, and there's like this realness that comes out, and it was really a bonding experience, and it's a lot of fun to get to know people at deeper levels.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I end up seeing a lot of my nomad friends more often and have kind of a better almost like a deeper connection with them than I do even friends that I live a mile away from that I can just see anytime. And I think it's the fact that you guys are going to meet somewhere in a different country and you have 24 hours a day together if you wanted to because we don't have any responsibilities.
David Vu's famous for saying, don't tempt me with a good time. So we met him on a boat that went from South America to Europe, hung out in Europe, and then we saw each other in the United States, and then we saw each other in Asia. So I've hung out with him 4 times on pretty much 4 different continents. It's pretty remarkable.
I think, so I didn't go to the South America trip, but I met him first time in LA. I was staying on his Airbnb, and that was after we had just talked online and we never met in person. So California, next time was in Lisbon, Portugal,
Nice.
and then it was in Koh Lanta, and then now this time in Chiang Mai.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I love it. So I'm really excited to have both of you on, especially Melanie, because you are kind of I think what a lot of people, especially in Chiang Mai, but I would imagine kind of everywhere, kind of dream of, is someone who can live their passion and do something they're really, really into, whether it's some kind of spirituality or something else, but still make a full-time living from it and not just kind of, bum around and try to get by, run out of money, and then have to teach English for 6 months before the next yoga retreat. So how does that feel now that you are where you are?
It's really so amazing. Like, ask-angels.com definitely started out as just a passion project. I learned to channel the angels and help people connect with their angels, and I was so excited about it that I just started putting these messages out there, and then people liked them and my web traffic went up, and then it was like, well, let's try selling products around this, and people bought them. And so it's just been this natural evolution from like hobby to business. And now it's like, wow, I've built a business around something I love that helps people, that can be done from anywhere. And I think the biggest thing for me is that it is very heart-centered and people have amazing experiences with it, which is really a huge part of what keeps me motivated and going and practically obsessed.
So I think I remember asking the very first day we met, I was like, are you actually into all this stuff, all the spiritual stuff, the tarot card reading, connecting with the angels, or is this just like a marketing thing? And you were like, no, I love it.
Yeah, it's still my passion. And so in that regard, I feel so incredibly lucky that I'm able to do what I love and be rewarded abundantly for that. It's just absolutely magical. So one thing that I learned early on that I think made a huge difference was like, if you give enough value to the world, you'll be rewarded in turn. And so my focus, like from the start, was never about how can I make money, like how can I scale this business, to speak in very like internet marketing terms that a lot of people use. It was just like, how can I help people? How can I give value? And that continues to be my focus. And I think that's part of why it is so successful, because I'm not trying to get from people. My goal is to just give, and then the universe, law of attraction, like rewards us in turn.
I like it. And
yeah.
So I think a lot of people who listen to this might be like, oh, well, maybe I should just get into, the yoga niche or something, because like the people on there aren't as savvy marketers. But I think you brought a really good point where that's a terrible idea, because people first off probably see right through it. The universe probably will not reward you for that, and people will not reward you for that with their wallets, because they can tell that someone had gotten into something just because it's a moneymaker. And also, I'm sure there was hard times where you weren't making any money from it at all, and if it wasn't for your passion for it, you never would have continued, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started out, I mean, it wasn't like I was born with an email list. We started from zero, just like everyone starts with zero. So there were times where it was like, oh my gosh, yay, I booked a reading. Now we can like go buy groceries. So it was like very low income to start. And really it took us a long time. I started the website in 2009. So it's been a very slow growth process. probably because we just failed our way forward and learned going along. But along the lines of what you were saying about like really following your passion, I do think that's so important, especially now. People on the internet and consumers are more educated and aware than ever before. And we're also able to like see through marketing and see through sales pitches and hypes. So I really look at it as if you're not authentic in what you're doing, like if you're trying to put on a show and act like you like something but you really don't, people will notice that and you won't be successful. And even, you know, some people we know who maybe have businesses around just selling products that they don't really believe in, they're trying to pivot now because in the long term that gets boring. So it's like, I think to really be successful in business, you have to commit for the long term. So it might as well be around something you love. Otherwise, you will get bored with it and you'll not want to keep putting out information and creating and all that.
I think I know exactly what you mean. I think that's the reason why I never got into Amazon FBA. It's because I knew I'd be selling some knockoff product from China for, you know, $30 that I got for $4 and wouldn't really add any value in the world. I wouldn't like talking about it. I wouldn't enjoy it. And I think that's why I spend so much time doing the things I do, like these podcasts, is because I really like doing this. I mean, you know, the fact that we get to sit up here on this beautiful rooftop and actually talk about kind of deeper things in our backstories. And even though, you know, I'm sure I can just hang out and we could talk, but I think it's like, it's one of those things when we're out just like socially, we end up just talking about whatever's current or, you know, just, you know, our favorite movies. But when we're on the podcast, we're like, okay, yeah, maybe we should really dig deep and try to give some value while having this conversation. And in turn, I learned so much from every single person I have on here.
You know, one thing, if we can kind of go back about staying focused on your passions, is that hitting monumental challenges as you're growing a business is inevitable. And to be able to muster up the energy, the life energy to overcome the challenges and to persevere, it really requires you to be passionate about something. We have been distracted by businesses. We contemplated giving this up multiple times in the 8 years that we've been running this website. Is it worth it? Are we making it up? Maybe we could make money doing this other thing. The shiny objects they do appear, but it's been that kind of like that passion, like you said. And lucky for me, my passion is in the marketing side. I love internet marketing, and we make a really good combo, like a good team. She does the creative side, and I'm like, how can we lay this creativity and this content out in a way to get the kind of most interest or most reach or get people into our funnel type stuff?
So I definitely want to pick your brains about the funnel part of it, because I think that's kind of the magic sauce in all of this. And if anything, if kind of just thinking of it from kind of like a bigger kind of point of view, it's almost like the marketing allows this product, which you want to be out there, in the hands of the most amount of people. Right. So it's, you know, as long as you're putting out a good product that people want, and it sounds like this is something that people really genuinely benefit from, you know, the people that are into it, by you having a strong marketing channel, it gets it into the hands of more people like that had that need.
Right. And so there's also always a percentage of people who are going to want more. They're going to want more access to you. They're going to want more of your content. They're going to want the next thing. That percentage gets smaller as the products get larger and more expensive, but they're there. So that's where the back end of the funnel really comes into play, and coming up with the certification courses. We have 2 certification courses now. People love the content, but they wanted to learn how to do what we were doing. And so she's put out some larger courses. And
I just wanted to say, along the lines of marketing, I think this is a big thing for a lot of spiritual teachers and yoga practitioners and more spiritually minded people, is that they're hesitant to market. They don't want to come off as salesy or spammy or like a marketer. And so many err to not getting their message out there. They have these amazing, beautiful, powerful teachings, but no one knows about them. They don't get found, and they just get buried in Google. So that's why I'm really passionate about marketing, is not to sell something to people that they don't want. It's to get the message out there in front of people so that they can decide if they want it, rather than never knowing about it.
And get it to the people that do want it, and they just don't know where to find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm curious, how long have you two been together or married?
We got married in May of 2009.
So that's about 7 years ago.
7 years, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And did you already have the website up or any of this before you met?
No, we didn't. So we really are co-founders in that sense, in that when we met, I hadn't really even honed the skill of channeling angels. I was very into meditation, and so was Miles. And so that was one of the things initially that we were so excited about meeting. It was like, whoa, you're into all this same kind of stuff. And that really has always been a foundation for our relationship. And then we started the site together. And
so before we get to that, I want to address something that people are probably thinking about right now. They're thinking this is like a woo-woo, fairy, spiritual podcast. If you guys listen to any of the episodes, you know this is more about, business and marketing and online business. And the fact that you two have that spiritual side, but also we can talk and we will talk about all the actual marketing side of it. I think that's an amazing combination. Because I think that's what people are really, really going to get into. But can you just kind of like briefly mention like what do you guys actually offer on ask.angels.com?
yeah, so we offer a number of guided angel meditations and information courses around how to do intuitive angel card readings, how to open your psychic senses to experience angels, which, as you mentioned, for people who are new to this sort of thing, probably does sound a bit strange. So in just a brief nutshell, everyone has angels, but they operate differently for everyone. So if you are very logical and scientific, your angels may appear to you just as an inspired idea or like a nudge or that gut feeling or a flash of inspiration. Whereas if you're more visual or clairvoyant, you can actually learn to see angels and communicate with them, and they can take on more like personality traits. So depending on who you are, your angels appear differently, and I help people to connect with their angels and tune into that guidance. So information products is the core. We also have a membership program, and then we do affiliate marketing, and Miles has helped kind of like package some of our stuff into books and CDs and apps. And
actually some physical products now too, right?
Yeah.
I like it. So I actually downloaded the free MP3 that you get for signing for the email list because I was really curious what it's about. I'm definitely the logical side, but at the same time, I do know the benefit of things like meditation, yoga, spirituality, which is why I just got back from a 4-day acro yoga retreat at the Pi Circus Juggling School.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I came back and I'm completely refreshed. My mind is a lot clearer than it was before. I was a little bit kind of burnt out from just overworking, so I know all the benefits of it, and I think this is it's one of those things. To be honest, I don't think anyone in the world knows what 100% like what's out there. I think that is the one thing I am 100% sure about. That regardless of what religion you are, what you believe in, nobody really knows.
Well, we live in a really interesting time where the scientists are starting to kind of scientifically prove what the mystics have said for a long time. Quantum physics and some of these were really, really deep, like, it's a wavelength until it's focused upon by consciousness, and then it becomes a point. So, like, if you watch What the Bleep Do We Know, or some of these movies, they really go into how the science and the mystics are saying kind of the same thing from totally different angles and approaches. And we get you on the meditation. We meditate every morning still. We usually meditate twice a day, once in the afternoon as well, to kind of clear our thoughts and really just, it's so easy as an entrepreneur because like you're never off. There's always more to do. We generally have a big ambition. There's that next level we want to reach. And so just thoughts and ideas can swirl in the head and it can almost get overwhelming. And meditation has been one of the key things that we use to just kind of like turn that off, put it on a shelf, let everything be okay as is, kind of enjoy where we're at, and then clear that head and get right back to it, and we found that to be a great practice.
Yeah, and while listening to your MP3, it was kind of like, well, regardless of if I believe in Archangel Michael or whoever the name is, to me it's like a really nice meditation.
Relaxing.
It's a nice relaxation. Yep. It's kind of like I get to hear a nice voice tell me positive thoughts and encourage me to think positive thoughts.
Right.
And I know 100% that helps.
Right. And so you're definitely not in our target market. Our target market is women in their kind of mid 30s through 60s. If you really focus in on the customer side, it's kind of that mid 50s to early 60s range. And they've kind of gone through certain life experiences that have them questioning things and looking deeper. A really interesting statistic that almost 8 out of 10 Americans believe in angels. So most cultures, most religions have something that is likened to an angel, so that belief is kind of around. And there's one thing I think everyone needs more of, and that's a little bit more positivity, a little bit more good vibes in their life. A lot of our customers, they'll even just play them while they go to sleep, and they'll just put it on to go to sleep, because a lot of people can't slow their mind down to go to sleep at night, and it's a way to kind of just relax and enjoy. And then we have some people who are really kind of deep down the rabbit hole, if you will, and they're really kind of getting the message and the feeling and that connection with their angels. So we do service kind of a broad variety of customers, and it's a lot of fun.
So I'm glad you jumped on, because and I think you guys make really the perfect team, because you have both sides so well. You know, you have Melanie's side where you know the kind of the content you want to deliver, and then you have Miles' side and says, okay, well, this is who we're going to deliver to, and this is how we're going to deliver to them.
Keyword research and really nerding out and geeking out on the statistics and what should we title this blog post. And really, I have to take my hat off and give a lot of credit to Melanie, because although I've kind of maybe been the one on the leading edge of the marketing to learn the tactics first, Melanie does 80-90% of the marketing herself. She knows how to do keyword research. She's jumping into SpyFu to research and analyze her website, and to find those pages she has on the top of page 2, to go in and do some SEO optimization to bring them to the middle of page 1 and get them back into traffic range. And we get nearly 600,000 visits a month to our website. And although I kind of taught the basics of content marketing, she really kind of jumped on board, and she's really owned it. And she writes her own sales copy now, and it's really cool. So it gives me the freedom to be studying what the greats are doing and see where's the industry going and what are the new tools. And I get to test all of that, do a lot of testing on other platforms. So I'm not fiddling with our money site. If I want to test a new method or like I just wanted to do a 30-day or a 90-day challenge on YouTube, we didn't do that within her channel. We did that on a separate channel. And now I'm trying some geeky kind of like backlinking things that are maybe a little bit gray hat area, but I'm not doing that on our money stuff. I'm doing that on my stuff. I'm like, okay, am I going to de-index myself? And it gives me a little freedom to play at that next level.
I think one really cool thing that Melanie is doing is that you're not just having Miles just do it. Say, oh, well, you're better at this technical part of it. You just do it. Because I think this really not only frees up his time to be able to find that next level, marketing that is going to bring your income even higher, but also the fact that this kind of empowers you as a content creator, where you're never reliant on someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always makes me laugh. We oftentimes meet people who are spiritual teachers in one form or another, and they're like, oh yeah, Melanie, what you do is great, but if I just had a Miles on my team, like I would be where you're at. And Miles always just kind of laughs, because like I really have done most all of the SEO optimization and content marketing and stuff on our site. And and all of our social media marketing, to give Miles some credit, he does manage our team, which has been an amazing progression to allow me to really just focus on creating and blogging and doing the things I love to do without having to like manage customer support and the sides of the business I really don't like to do. So that is amazing.
It sounds like Mao doesn't like doing that part either. So like what are the VAs that you guys have, or who's the team?
Yeah, so we got a full-time customer support lady. Just got her a backup who's part-time right now, doing about 30 hours a week. Kind of the 2 is 1 is none philosophy. If we have one customer support lady and she's out sick, it falls back on my shoulders. We got a full-time designer. We got a full-time developer. Our designer is kind of like an illustrator and graphics designer. Transcriptionist who we work part-time. An editor. We got a layout guy who does our book layouts and a lot of our kind of angel card layouts for the printing publisher and for all the print side of things. And I think that's about it. We random people for kind of like integrations and stuff.
But I'm assuming this all started like it was just the two of you?
In-house, man. Yeah, just hustling. Really just that bootstrap, go.
It actually wasn't until like last year or 2 years ago that we even brought on any sort of team. So like up until very recently, we were design and tech and support and
which I think
everything.
is actually smart in the beginning to do. So it's been about 7 years. The first, like, how much were you making from it, like the first year or the first couple of years? How did that progress?
So the business had a very significant shift in how we were operating at about year 1.5. It started with her doing one-on-one readings, which was somebody would book, they would pay us, she would schedule it, the money would come in, and she would then perform the reading for them. And at one point I had this idea, like, can't we just, because she was getting a lot of the same questions. Am I going to meet my soulmate? You know, am I going to find love? And she's like, man, I'm answering the same questions. And I was like, can't we just record this and broadcast it and make them available? So that was maybe a couple of years in, and we were going full speed on content marketing, and we didn't have a funnel in place, and the income was very spotty. We'd have good weeks, we'd have no weeks. It was really up and down, up and down. It wasn't until we put our first funnel in place that we were able to create consistent and measurable income that we could rely on. And then the second move, once we had that, is getting our membership program going and having literally consistent income. People are paying us every month, month after month, because they love what we're putting out. And that has really built a level of like comfort into our income and where we can trust on it, because it never really wavers more than like 10-15% per month with the churn rate and what we bring in.
I think that's amazing, because I think a lot of people are afraid to become entrepreneurs or, you know, have everything be online, because you could have a great month and then the next month it can dry up, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny that I've been afraid of that for like years now. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I gotta bootstrap, I gotta save up, because who knows, you know, everything can dry up, and it just never really does. You know,
Yeah.
like it might waver. I think mine wavers between about 25% or so,
Right.
up or down.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, what we do is actually still way more stable and secure than actually having a job.
I'd rather have the control in my hands. If it's going to crumble, it's going to crumble from these. And if it's going to fly and soar, it's going to be on our own effort. We do put in a ton of work, and we always have. Learning to kind of ease off a little bit and enjoy our time is something we're literally having to like learn, because we're American entrepreneurs. That's like workaholic and a workaholic, right? So it's been fun, and I don't know. I just don't trust the corporate world. I never did. So we had this burning desire. My dad got laid off after 33 years from the same company, and I knew I couldn't trust corporate America for our longevity and our well-being. So it was like, no matter what it takes, we're going to get there. And it was from that mindset shift of like, no matter what it takes. From that, it's just evolved, and it's been a process of trial and error and perseverance and to get there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And Melanie, did you grow up kind of with this entrepreneur mindset, or how did this all happen?
When I was very young, I was a natural entrepreneur. Like, I would go around to my neighbors and sell them rocks from our front yard, which my parents were like, here, no one's going to buy rocks. And then I came back with a bunch of money, and I kind of like let go of that for a while because I got really into sports and was just really busy. But then when I graduated college, I just knew I couldn't do like a traditional job. I just knew it wasn't for me. And so I guess for 6 months I had like a real job, but other than that, it's been like entrepreneurial.
Okay, I like it. So to kind of go back to that timeline, so the first year you were doing coaching, and I would imagine that, you know, even if you're charging over $100 an hour, it's still kind of trading time for money, and you can't really grow that.
Right. It was upwards of $150 an hour is what she was charging. And it took a lot of life energy. What we do, you know, really connecting with people on that level and giving of yourself to them. It takes a lot of life energy. So we'd have a quote unquote good day that was like 3 readings in a day, make like $450. And then she'd just be drained, tired. And I was like, this can't go on. And a lot of people in the spiritual realm never move beyond that, and they get into their 60s and their 70s, and that's still their entire business model. So that's where my creative thinking, my synthesis kind of was just like, okay, what's the solution here? And it was like, no one-to-one, we need to go one-to-many. And now, we got a list of like 95,000 people, so we put out a new message, send it out, 20, 30,000 people open the email, and it just becomes a numbers game really at that point. Like there's always a percentage of people ready to buy, and it's become a lot more fun, definitely more lucrative.
So kind of going through that funnel, I can definitely see why people buy it, because after I listened to that first MP3, I was like, this is nice. I feel really relaxed. I can see myself having a bunch of these on my phone. And then I click, it says, do you want 2 more MP3s? I was like, yeah, I do. And I click it. And it says, like it's normally $34, but now you can get both for 17 or
yep,
whatever
our
it was.
OTO.
And I was like, you know what? If I was in that demographic where this is something I really wanted, I'd be like, oh, it's only $17. I'll buy it.
So that's really like the power of the funnel, the sales funnel, the marketing funnel. And this has been something that really revolutionized our business to the next level. Because I always was building an email list. That was something I learned very early on. So like all of my reading clients were on my email list. So if I wanted to do a special or something, I could write them an email and promote it. But then as soon as they opted in for our free offer, giving them the option to buy something right away, they've already expressed interest. So, hey, do you want to buy something? Has proven to be really effective. And it's just along those same lines of like they're expressing interest in what we have. So then making it very clear and apparent like what we're selling and giving them that opportunity. And it's worked really well. And
I like the fact that it's, they are getting a free sample, which is actually a full length. I think it was like 17 minutes or something, or 13 minutes. But then right away you're like, look, I'm giving you value and I'm asking for kind of that value in return, so I can have the time and energy to produce more of this for you.
Yeah, and we do give away a ton of free stuff on the site, like without people even joining the email list, on YouTube, on Facebook. So that's always kind of been a part of our philosophy, is like let people experience it, and then if they like it, they'll want to buy more. So even before we had our funnel in place, people would reach out and say, I listened to all 30 free messages on your site. Do you have more? Like, I want to buy something. Are you selling something? So yeah, I'm a strong believer in giving, and then that just has paid off so much.
Another thing that does is it can be called a self-liquidating offer. It gives us a marketing budget. So that's when I've been able to go into Facebook pay-per-click and start to learn that game. And if I'm break even on that OTO sale of $17, that means I'm growing my list. It converts at about 3%, 2%. So that means I'm adding 97, 98 people to my email list for free every time I get one of those conversions. And that's where it becomes a numbers game, and you can really start to get the paid traffic going in. And we didn't even start playing with paid traffic until 2013. So that was like 4 years into the business. It was all organic. We still have an organic powerhouse, which is a great asset. But the ability to like put in $10 in Facebook ads, get out $10, $9.50, and 70, 80, 90 subscribers, because we know the lifetime value of our customers and our email list follow-up sequence, sells, and blah, blah, blah. Have you noticed more emails since you've opted in? Did you use a real email address?
I did reuse a real email address, and I did see more emails, yeah.
And we mail almost every day. That's something Melanie picked up earlier this year. I would say on average 4 to 5 times a week we're mailing something, and generally in the PS there's an opportunity to buy something, because you never know when somebody just gets paid or when somebody comes into some money or the timing's just right. They've wanted it for a while, but so you got to keep in touch and stay top of mind, and just a lot of the basic sales stuff that's out in all the books.
So I think 2 things that 99% of people out there, especially, if you guys are listening to this might be you, is people don't start collecting emails early on because they're like, well, I don't really have anything to sell yet. But I think it was really smart that, that Melanie started, well, the two of you started collecting emails like right from the beginning. And then second thing that people don't do, and I'm guilty of this as well, is we don't email a list often enough because we're afraid to spam them. We're afraid to bother them. But it's almost kind of like, if you think about it as someone that you want in your life, or you want to hear from them all the time.
Well, So another way of looking at it is most people are living boring lives. They commute to the same place. They work in the same cubicle every day. They like it's just so much routine that they want to live vicariously, especially someone like you, right? Like you're living a very fun life. And obviously the listeners, you're out there, you get it because you're listening to this podcast, but the people on your email, they might not listen to you there. So they want to know when you're in a new country. They want to know. They want to live vicariously. They want something to shake up their day. I mean, most people sit in front of the television for 3 or 4 hours a day to like numb themselves, quote unquote, be entertained, and you get the opportunity to be that via email. And when you become that person that they look forward to, like, oh, John, what's he up to now? They're opening every email, and then when it is a marketing message promoting a product, an affiliate product, or one of your products, your open rates are massive. You're top of mind because you've been in touch with them all week, and versus not reaching out until you have something else to sell once every 3 weeks. They're like, oh, it's an email from Johnny. I know what that means. He's got something else he's promoting, and it's a very different vibration. They're in an energetically different place when you kind of just give, share your story, share your life, and that vulnerability it's been revolutionary.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because when I'm thinking back when I had a corporate job, I was so bored that I'd be checking my personal email, and I would have been really happy to hear from someone who I was interested in following, whether it's someone who's doing what I wanted to do, being a digital nomad, traveling in Thailand, wherever it is. I would have loved to hear from them every day because that would have just knocked off half an hour of my boring day.
I was always like super hesitant to email my list as well, and I think this is something that goes through everyone's mind of because we all don't like getting spam, right? So you don't want to be a spammer. And I would always worry about emailing too much. I don't want to bother people. I want to respect their time. And so I built up in my mind email as this super hard, challenging thing that every email I wrote had to be super prolific, had to be amazing. And so it was always so hard, and it would take me forever to write an email. And then I learned about this idea of emailing every day and thinking about in the old paradigm or something when people drive to work, or maybe a lot of people in my audience do still drive to work and listen to a radio show every morning. And they love listening to those same radio personalities every morning because they start their day off right, they are entertaining. So this is the approach I take with email, of being more like a blip on a morning radio show, just this little dose of positivity, of inspiration, of guidance. And since I started doing that, it's become so much easier for me to do. I actually like doing it. My audience loves it. And I didn't get a ton of unsubscribes. Our open rate went up. Our web traffic has gone up. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is people like getting that positivity in their inbox. When we were in Phuket, I kind of went a week without emailing, which is the longest I've gone in a while, and actually got some emails from people where are you? We missed your positivity.
So I'm actually just curious, do you have a routine? Do you do this first thing in the morning, or how does this work?
Yeah, so that's a good question because so we're in Chiang Mai, which is total opposite time zone from the United States. So I kind of just fell into this pattern here of, okay, I'll just email in the evening, whereas normally I email in the morning, and it just became so hard again. So now I'm back to my normal schedule that really works, which is wake up, drink some water, brush my teeth, we meditate together, and then I just kind of start thinking email. And it's become this sort of creative practice of just what's happening in my life, what's happening with the current astrology or world events, and I write an email. When I waited until the evening, it became so much harder, and I wouldn't email. So for me, the morning really works.
We've got this philosophy that I learned along the way of you wake up with a full tank of willpower, and as you go through your day, your willpower tank gets less and less and less. So we have to be really specific and particular with what we do in the morning when we have that willpower tank full. Get the most difficult thing or the most important thing. One concept we go back to is there's the 80-20 rule, right? But if you go and do the 80-20 rule to the 80-20 rule, you get 4 and 64. So 4% of what you do creates 64% of your results. And one thing we say to each other is that in your 4%? Is that something that only you could do? And if it's not, then we need to shift it and get you doing something that only you can do in the morning, and I'll handle it, the team will handle it, we'll get to it later, it's not that important. Because those emails, it is something that only she can do because it's her personality, and she is very honest in them. And sometimes when we have bad days or when things feel challenging, writing an email about that and being like wearing the heart on the sleeve a little bit. So like for you, if you're traveling around and you're like confused and like, man, just it's been a rough week, y'all. Like having those moments of honesty are really important. It's not about like life is great every day is great. It's about like being real. And when you're real with people, they feel that, they connect, and that's when they truly kind of become like closer to you and they feel like your friends.
So one of the hardest emails I ever wrote, but it was also the one that I got just like literally, I think almost everyone who read it responded to it, and that was the first time that's ever happened, because normally, I don't really encourage people to respond to email or anything because I don't have time to reply to everyone. But it was when me and Larissa broke up, and I felt like it was time for me to just tell my audience, like, this is why you don't see her in every photo anymore, or every video anymore. This is why I don't, I'm not talking about her anymore. And it was a really, really difficult email to write, but I'm really glad I did, because my audience, people who listen to this podcast, but also reading my blog, they're like, you know what? His life isn't perfect, Right. There's ups and downs. Life's a journey.
And there's so many marketing messages out there of like, look how great my life is. Just do what I do. Sign up for my system, buy in, and blah, blah, blah. You could live it too. And like, it's when it's always that, it's like everybody's kind of like defenses are up and like, there's a marketing message here. But when you're real like that, like they can read like, he didn't say that for anything to gain. Like that was just being real. And it's cool to hear you say that. And sometimes the more difficult things to do are what our audience responds best to or most to.
I like it. I think that's why I like having this podcast be, first off, in person. Second, with people that I already know, so people I've at least had a meal with or something, and then third, having it be long form, like an hour long, because this becomes a very genuine conversation where it's free flowing, it's not scripted, and it's not like this 15 or 20 minute podcast where you're just trying to bang out like the talking points.
So I've got an analogy with podcasts nowadays is a lot of them are like the old school book tour, right? So the author's got a new book out. So what do? They go hit the circuit. They go do their bit on every single podcast. And at the end, there's going to be a pitch. And like, it's kind of annoying to me as a listener when I'm like, man, I just can't really trust everything you just said. But you have a very different approach. It's literally that authenticity thing coming through. So I think that's why you have such an engaged listenership and kind of you stand out in that niche.
But at the same time, I know for sure if I did put some of these marketing tactics into a funnel, my income would grow a ton.
Absolutely.
And it wouldn't be a bad thing, because it would just mean that more people who would benefit from the show would find out about it, and there'd be more tools for people to be able to do what they want to do.
Right. And that's the whole idea of there's always people who want more. And it's not even just about the front end of the funnel that kind of like opt in with the OTO, but once they're on, what's that next level? And you've got a group of 10, 12 people out here kind of working with you. And like, that's a huge level of commitment from someone in your audience to literally pack up and fly across the world. And like, they're all excited and charged about it. And there's people in that group who want even more. And like, there's always this further, and $10,000 events. I think Eben Pagan kind of started that $10,000 event thing with his Accelerate event back in the day. Frank Kern's got a $30,000 a year kind of mastermind program. So does Russell Brunson. And it's crazy to think that out of their audience, there's 20 people who are ready to cough up $30,000 a year just to be able to kind of like hit them with a text message every day. And to feel like they get enough value that's there. Like that still blows my mind and that's, we're just kind of taking baby steps compared to that.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of baby steps, for the Nomad Summit this year, I was like, this venue is gonna be so much more expensive, so I need to charge more for the tickets, but I'm afraid that people aren't gonna want to pay it. And even though I know other conferences out there are so much more, some of them are like $800 or even a few $1,000s. I was like, this is Chiang Mai, people are bootstrapping, and I was like, I have to keep them under $100, But I was like, but then we're not gonna make any money. And I started thinking, I was like, maybe I can also offer a $500 ticket that's like a VIP ticket where they have more access. They have access to the backstage where the speakers are hanging out. They get invited to the speakers' dinner so they can actually sit down and like meet everyone. And I was like, I don't know if anyone's gonna buy it. And I was so surprised that on like pretty much, second days, someone bought it, even though the super early bird tickets were available for like $35.
And what that does to your numbers, like if you track the numbers and your average customer value, it helps increase that average customer value all the way across the line. And so what we've learned is we've got these little $17 programs out there, but we've got some that, we started this new membership funnel. They come into the funnel for $1 trial, but they get offered almost $200 annual membership. And that's created so much extra revenue that I can dump right back into more ads and get more people in and build this huge list. And it's crazy what the right funnel has done. So we stacked this funnel on, and I mean, it's generated a couple, multiple six figures additional revenue for us, just with rearranging what we already had in a new way.
So can I ask what your numbers were kind of like, year 2 when you guys kind of first started the email marketing, then after year 3 after the membership site, and then now?
So before we got into the funnel and really dialing things in, we were like 4-figure a month, kind of somewhere between, I'd say like $2,500 and $4,000 to $5,000 a month. I was still like weighted down with student loan debt at that time too. So it didn't stretch as far as it needed to. We were still like struggling.
At the time, I think a lot of people were like, oh, wow, if I can make $4,500 a month online, we're set. Like, is it almost kind of a blessing that you had that student loan debt where you're like, I have to make more?
Hungry, man. That's the one thing. And so I do a little bit of coaching, and I think there's something miraculous about when people are like up against the wall, they have no other options, and they gotta like something has to work, that they find another gear. And I definitely found that other gear, and we ended up paying off all my student loans in about 8 months, paid off like $32,000 in student loans while we're living on the beaches of Costa Rica and Mexico. And that was when we dialed in this funnel, and the cash flow came. It was like, what's the smartest thing for me to do with this? Eliminate my 7% student loans, right? Invest like a boss. Got to get rid of that quick. And then, so once we implemented that first funnel and started doing paid marketing, that's when we were bumping into the 5-figure monthly revenue mark. But I was spending a lot more on advertising at that point. So we were net up a bit. What really came of that was information about what worked, split testing, learning about the headlines, and our targeting of our audience. And that knowledge has compounded.
When you say information, do you mean like internally, as in from your data?
Yeah, like who is actually buying, right? So we were marketing to like 25 to 70-year-olds, and we found out that our customers are actually the segment of 45 to 55-year-olds. Actually, it's 55 to 64. I don't have my numbers, but so we found out exactly who was buying from us. We found out what cities they were in. We found out the people they liked on Facebook, so I could then show my ads to those people. I was able to then create custom audiences and lookalike audiences. So when you start running paid ads, you're going to be cash flow negative unless you're some total you're going to be cash flow negative. But what you're doing is you're investing in information about who your customers are, who your best customers are, and you can leverage that information to refine your campaigns.
And that's very smart. I think this is where a lot of people are failing, where they expect their Facebook ad campaign to be profitable from the start. And one hot topic right now is people trying to arbitrage Alibaba by drop shipping, kind of cheap stuff from China, using Facebook ads either with like a free plus shipping model or like some kind of low cost model, and because they hear this is working so good for some people, and they end up either barely breaking even or losing money on it, not realizing that everyone who's making money is making money on the back end.
Yeah, rookies focus on the front end of the funnel, and the pros know that the money's made on the back end. If you can get your front end of your funnel to be break even and list growing, let the back end do all the rest of the work, and that's the big trick. When we got this membership system dialed, our revenue doubled pretty much into consistently like 5-figure monthlies, we changed the channel from this podcast to your Invest Like a Boss podcast, and like those are kind of the thoughts of, okay, now that we have this income coming in, how do we kind of pay it forward for our old selves and take care of our 70, 80-year-old selves? And we haven't changed what we're doing, we're just doing it a little bit differently.
I just want to say there's kind of like this common thread in the spiritual realm. I think it even goes into like the yoga niches and things, that being spiritual and being abundant are like different paths. And I think I even had a lot of limiting beliefs around that when we were first starting, of like, it's not okay to make a ton of money with this because the goal is to help people. But then we both really realized, and I realized, that I can do a lot more positive, I can create a lot more positive change in the world, like being super abundant, than like barely getting by. And so now, even here in Chiang Mai, we're gonna go do an elephant adventure that promotes ethical connection with elephants. And if we weren't making a lot of money, we wouldn't even be able to afford to do that. And there's so much more. We're looking into different charities we can support, like around water and protecting the environment and things like that I would never even have been able to consider if I was still just in that older model of just doing readings, just barely making enough to get by. So to me, being abundant does go hand in hand with growing spiritually, and I think that it is super powerful to be abundant, because then we can like do so much good in the world.
I definitely agree. And, you know, I mean, just looking at people like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, if it wasn't for them being billionaires, they wouldn't be able to reach as many people as they can doing all their causes. Now that they're, you know, close to, you know, that they're a bit, I mean, not Elon's not retiring, but when Zuckerberg and Bill Gates retired, they're putting, I don't know how many millions or billions of dollars into charity. But even on a small scale, you know, if it wasn't for having the amount of passive income I have, or having the amount in the bank, I wouldn't be able to, you know, go to a circus retreat for 4 days and then be there to, you know, help other people get started with acro yoga, you know, or be there to partner with them or base them, or just, you know, even be there to give the value I can give. And, you know, with like even marketing, you know, if that hostel, that school had better marketing, they can bring more people in, because more people can find out about it and they can kind of promote it better, making the experience better for everyone. So I really do think that it's good. I mean, everything can be used for good or evil. You know, people can market a crappy product or a crappy hostel, make it seem like a great place, or they can use that same marketing and, you know, and attract people to a great thing.
And we committed to use these powers of marketing for good and not evil, right? Because there are people out there who are just kind of in it for the short-term game. Money just makes you more of what you already are, right? It doesn't change people at all. It makes you more of what you are. And we really have this belief that consciousness can be elevated when groups of people meditate. There have been scientific studies on this. 25,000 people, I think, went to the DC area, meditated together for like a week, and crime dropped by like a significant statistical percent. So our overriding goal, which is the other side of being up against the wall and hungry, we have this huge vision of having 1 million people a month meditate to our content. And we believe that that will help create a positive shift in consciousness for the whole world. And you know, we haven't even connected with 1 million people on Facebook. We're at like 920,000 fans. So like we're barely on that path. And that's the new hunger that's driving us, is like, what kind of positive ripple could we create in this world if we get 1 million people a month meditating to our stuff? And like, that's a long way off. And a lot of times people only value what they pay for. Right? If you're just running around trying to give away something free, they're like, it ain't good enough. They're not willing to charge for it. I don't know about this. So putting it as a paid product can create positive change, can give them a placebo effect, there's all a host of things that can happen, and people value that which they buy. Look at, like, I bet your course and David's course, a lot of people's courses, they're on torrent, right? They get downloaded on torrents left and right.
I hope not, but
well, at some point it probably happened. But like, let's say Frank Kern's courses, his are all over like torrent. But when people download things on torrent, they don't actually value them. You know, this course I bought that had the funnel that I followed that we implemented for this membership, it was $2,000. That is a lot of money for one course. I bought that and I was like, I'm going through every module. I'm doing everything he says, even if I don't get it. I committed to it, and I got out the other side, and it revolutionized my business. And it was because I paid for it that I had that like deeper commitment to make it through. And when people just grab shit for free, or when stuff's free, they don't necessarily value it, so they're not going to actually get what they want out of it. So
I definitely agree, and I'm a big proponent of taking courses too. All the courses I've taken have paid back, I don't know, like 1,000.
And they've created this lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
literally. And this is priceless.
Yeah, it really is. And those courses, I remember, putting on my credit card for, I think it was the last course I bought was $3,000. And I was like, I don't know, like, should I do this? But once I did, I was like, no matter what, I am going through all the trainings. I'm not going to skip a week. I'm going to do it.
I call it the hat over the fence. Like sometimes you got to throw your hat over the fence. You got to climb over and get it. When we first launched our first membership product, we didn't have a product. We wrote a sales letter. We promised a deliverable schedule, and we threw it out there. Hey, if anybody buys it, we'll do it. People bought. We've hit that schedule. We've stuck with it for 4 years now.
In the back to courses, I think one of the things that has made such a huge difference for us, in addition to just continuing and failing forward and trying, is we've invested continually in ourselves, in learning, in our education, both in personal and spiritual development and in marketing. And I think it's like an Albert Einstein quote that you can't change your current circumstance with the same level of thinking. So if you want to if you want to make more money, if you want to get better in business, it's so helpful to get other people's ideas and concepts and thoughts and to absorb those that really change you as a person into the person who is in alignment with abundance, who is in alignment with creating, with being on a podcast, with being on video or whatever. You have to grow into that, which courses are incredibly powerful for.
I like that. And actually, speaking of, of kind of growing and, I guess expanding, leveling up, even with things like comfort zone, you were telling me earlier that for the first how many years you didn't even show your face on your site.
Yeah, and that I think was, I kind of do like hiding behind my computer, but on the other side, I really, in the channeling realm, I liked when people just started channeling. A lot of people would talk for a long time about their story, and I found myself just okay, get to the channeling. And so I took the exact opposite approach. But then a lot of people in my audience were like, we want to know about your story. And so I made the shift of putting my face on the website and coming out of the spiritual closet, I guess, getting on camera for YouTube, and that has made a big difference. So I think being a real person, back to that, being authentic and relating to people, just makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, I can see that. And when they see your face and they put it to the voice, they're like, okay, this is a real person.
And I think I think it's true in any niche, but for our niche being in spirituality, people are like, oh wow, you don't look really scary or weird, you are a normal person. A lot of times I've gotten people telling me but you look and seem so normal. Most people, I don't know, people expect me to walk around with a crystal ball and a head wrap and
that was actually one thing I had noticed about the two of you, when we had sushi that first night, is that you just seem like very normal people. And to be honest, maybe it's just I don't actually know what channeling is. I kind of heard the one side of it, but can you explain to us what it actually is?
Yeah, so to channel, I essentially meditate and raise my vibration and enter into a light trance state where I then connect with spirit guides and archangels, and one word at a time I speak what they're telling me. So I essentially am a translator for the angelic realm. And so this started off in readings where people would ask me questions and I would tell them what their angels were saying. And it has evolved to just me tuning into the angels and recording their messages really for humanity, and specifically for the people who do and who will listen to the messages. So it is considered by some to be fairly down the rabbit hole. It's a deep niche within spirituality, but I think that's a kind of cool lesson as well, in that whatever you're passionate about, there's someone else who's passionate about that
I can definitely agree with that 100%. No matter what you're passionate about, there's someone else who's passionate about it. I'm curious to hear from Miles, because you seem like such a logical, rational guy.
Yeah, I put on a good facade,
okay,
right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm very intuitive. When we met, I was kind of working with this one lady, and we both have been taking spiritual courses. I'm very in tune with consciousness and the law of attraction. I've been kind of a law of attraction practitioner for a very long time. before we met. Like we really think we kind of drew each other together because we were both a little bit fed up with our lives, the way it was working. So we were meditating literally like 2, 3, 4 hours a day. It was the only thing that felt good. Right. And then like we bumped, I was like, oh, you're doing that too? Like, that's crazy. And then like all these like synchronistic things have been happening. And so I'm there with every single message that she channels. I'm really into it. Like, I'm totally into it. And I think it is funny because we totally look normal. People walk down the street. They don't realize that we got like both sides, the spiritual and the money side type thing. And it's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun too because we do swing both ways. Like, we can go to a internet marketing conference and talk super geeky. In networking, it usually does come out that I'm channel angels and am super spiritual, which does weird some people out, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, we can also talk, obviously, conversion optimization and SEO and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of do like bridge worlds, I guess, between marketing and spirituality. And I think that's a huge part of why we're so successful, because we're not afraid of marketing and we're not afraid of the spiritual concepts. We're able to like weave them together in a way that's really powerful. So,
and I mean, at the end of the day, like, regardless of what people believe, you two are genuinely happy, you know, and you're successful. You have a great relationship. You have a great business. You live a great life. So if somebody is at home, you know, sitting on their couch eating Cheetos, you know, and they're unhappy in their life.
Put down the Cheetos.
You know, and they're like watching your, you know, like your YouTube video and just like leaving hate comments. Fuck those people, you know, like it's, they
I think it's Grant Cardone who Miles was following for a while, and he has a quote of like, if you have 10 haters, go get yourself 10 more, because like when you have haters, that means you're reaching people. That means like you have an audience. If you put up a YouTube video and no one like has anything negative to say about it, you're not reaching that big of an audience, because there are lots of haters in the world.
And you're not moving people. You're not impacting people. Like we've dropped, I've been like, oh, what do you guys say? Oh, my wife channels angels. It's like, oh my goodness, we just good Christians. I don't know nothing about that. And I was like, whoa. And like, we put it out there because sometimes we drop that and people are like, oh my gosh. So I got to tell you this, my aunt and my cousin did it. And all of a sudden we form these like relationships and friendships because like, boom, I'm gonna hit it. And we don't always lead with that answer, but it's one of those things about throwing it out there boldly. And
that reminded me of something like it's okay like to be polarizing, right? We're not trying to reach everyone. We're trying to reach people who are into this sort of thing. And so we don't like dance around it in our marketing. We talk about angels. And if someone hates the idea of angels, they're not going to dive deeper into our funnel. But if, yeah, they'll know they're in the wrong place.
I think that's a very good point. It's because if everybody is your customer,
no one
your
is,
customer.
yeah.
And that's a quote we've heard so many times, and it's so true.
So niching down is kind of the other side of that. We got some friends, they're in New Zealand. They're very successful internet marketers who were doing like a gym membership, foreverfit.tv, and hanging out with us. They were just amazed that we were able to do what we've been doing in the angel niche. So what they did is they had the idea. She loves horses. She loves dressage riding, which is like an English style of riding. And they decided like, if we can do this in angels, maybe they need to go deeper in their niche. And they started a fitness product for dressage riders. And in less than a year, it's almost outperforming the broader niche. And it's because it's so focused. Now, it's also because like horse people have money, and you know, it's like there's a lot of things that work, but she followed her passion not just for fitness but for horses. You know, she has 2 horses, like she loves that, so her passion shows through more. And niching down is like, if you're not interested in horses or dressage, then it's not for you. But it's easy to identify people, Facebook pay-per-click, who like dressage riding, who like English style saddles and all these things, and they're finding that it's easier for them to find their best customers because they've niched down to that depth.
I like it.
It's pretty powerful.
And it's worked. So
absolutely,
you know, big congratulations on all the success that you guys have had.
Yeah, man, you too.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that, you know, I have the 2 of you guys as friends in my life now. So thank the angels, I guess.
Hell to the yeah, law of attraction, right?
Yeah, we're super stoked to have met you here in Chiang Mai, and like we were talking about being digital nomads, it'll be fun to see where else in the world we hang out. Who knows?
I will guarantee, I'll put this out there right now, that we will hang out not only another time, but probably in another country.
Yeah. Country, continent, yeah, side of the world, who knows?
Yeah. I love it. So actually, just real quick, what's that course that you took to learn all your funnel stuff?
So I would say 2 places. If you're just getting going into funnels, Russell Brunson's .com Secrets book is great. He has a free plus shipping offer for it, or you can find it on Amazon or Kindle. That's a great overview. And then the one for the membership funnel is List Grow by Mike Dillard. It really is for people who want to grow a membership program. So you either have to have a vision of a membership program or already have the content. That one's like $2,000. The Russell Brunson, it's like a $15 book or free plus shipping. But remember, he's the king of funnels. So if you go through his free plus shipping, you're going to see an upsell for $150 right on the back end. You don't have to take it. The content in the book is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, and you've spent a lot of money now. Like, do you have any idea how much you've spent in total, kind of trying to learn all this stuff?
Tens of thousands of dollars. But to put that into perspective, my bachelor's degree, which I borrowed every penny for, I was out at about $49,000 for my bachelor's degree. That left me with 0 life skills to build this. So I've probably spent half or less in information products on this. I don't follow many people in the information marketing world. Frank Kern, Mike Dillard, Russell Brunson, Jay Abraham are a few of the Eben Pagan. That's it. And they sell expensive courses, but they know what they're doing. There's a lot of wannabes out there. There's a lot of people, oh, look at my house. Look how big my house. Oh, everybody wants to see a walkthrough on my house. They want like a crib style video. Run from those
Here
people.
in my garage.
Yeah, right. Oh, look at my Lambo. Look at my Ferrari. Like literally run from those people, because there's genuine people out there like Dan Kennedy, Jay Abraham, who are putting out the content. If you're not on Jay Abraham's list, he gives so much content for free. The dude's an old school genius. And I study a lot of the old school. I read the books from the 1920s, the 1930s about marketing, because human psychology has not changed. The mechanism which we deliver the content, the internet, is different, but everybody's using these old direct mail techniques to build their internet businesses, the Dan Kennedy style stuff. It's been a brilliant change. Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz, written in like the 30s or 40s. Brilliant stuff that's still very applicable to this day.
I love it. I'll make sure that I have Anthony put all these things in the show notes. So just out of curiosity, how much did you make from your bachelor's degree versus how much are you making now from following all these courses?
I'm honestly tempted to say 0 from my bachelor's degree, because like it wasn't focused. I mean, maybe 20, 50 grand, because I sold cars for this one place afterwards because I didn't know what I was doing. Literally like nothing. From this, I mean, we're $500,000. We're getting somewhere near the total revenue in this business over time of 7 figures. We might cross it this year. We will. If we don't this year, it'll get crossed next year at some point.
And so 7 figures for you guys who've never seen this many zeros is $1 million.
Yeah, that's a 2 comma club. That's crazy. That is, and I come from like we both come from poor families, like families who had like we had love in my family, but we didn't have money. Employee mindset, like go to college, get a good job, that'll serve you right. That date age ended in the 70s. So we've had to figure this all out, and our mentors are in books. The books are out there. Get a library card. It's all right there. You can learn so much from that. The YouTube videos, find the right people to follow. Follow me on YouTube. I'm laying everything I know out. I'm just giving of myself, because there are genuine people who are willing to help and they want to help.
But more importantly, read it or learn from it, but take action.
Take action. Absolutely.
Yeah, in one of Miles' YouTube videos, he actually talks about that, the idea of creating more than you consume. Like that courses are so valuable, but there can also be a trap of just like learning, absorbing, planning, prepping, and like never actually taking action. And I think us just like jumping in before we knew what to do right or what to do wrong was huge. And we've made tons of mistakes and we've like experienced a ton of failure, but we kept going. And so do the course, but then take action.
I love it. So if people want to find out more, what's your YouTube channel? Where do you post? Things like that.
Be sure to follow Miles Beckler on YouTube, youtube.com/Miles Beckler.
Miles B.
Miles B. And then if you want to follow me, I'm on YouTube/AskAngels, or if you want to check out that free angel message that Johnny experienced, you can get it at ask-angels.com/love. And that's a dash like the hyphen thing. Yeah.
All right. Thank you two so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
I really
thank
appreciate how
you.
open you guys were and how much you
Thanks,
shared.
man.
And the sun has now officially set behind us. I don't know if you guys are watching this on YouTube, but it is
So
gorgeous.
beautiful.
So luckily we have a candle in front of us that Melanie was nice enough to light. And I think that's it. So thanks to everyone who's been leaving all these great 5-star reviews on the iTunes store. This is how this podcast reaches more people. So thank you guys so much for that. And I will see all of you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Travel Like a Boss. And if you take one thing away from this show, let it be to just follow what lights you up, what you're passionate about, who you authentically are, and just start taking action towards creating your dreams, because they are possible. Your message is needed in the world, and you can do it.